technical vocabulary. I'm sorry, it's not really an exciting title. Technical can also, the term content area, you've heard content area vocabulary. Domain specific is also a term that is used. The Striving Readers Grant professional learning modules, have all of you experienced those? Is anyone who has not experienced any of those modules yet? Some of you are looking like you're not sure. They're on comprehensivereadingsolutions.com, and most of your literacy coaches are presenting these to you, and some of them, they're very good. They actually have been created by the Department of Education and paid for with funds from Striving Readers Grant. Anyway, moving right along. Talking about vocabulary in general, what does it mean to know a word? We just have a couple of things here. You can know a lot about a word or nothing about a word. I'm guessing that all of you have pretty complete knowledge of the word cat, but maybe you don't know what borborygmus is. Does anybody know what borborygmus is? I just love this word. It means the intestinal rumbling caused by gas in your intestines. So, you know, now you have...
I'm engaged now. I'm engaged to scratch it.
No, it's not the same thing. No.
There's the rumblings in your intestines.
It is not the same thing as flatulence. It's, yeah, pre-flatulence. I wasn't expecting this conversation to go quite that direction, but that's good. Because we're gaining more full understanding of that word now because we've had a couple of encounters with it. And of course, the same thing, you know, this leads to the fact that word knowledge often depends on individual experience, and that could apply here as well. Okay. All right, there we go. This is Isabel Beck's scale of word knowledge. I mean, a bunch of different people have scales of word knowledge. This is one of them. She says it can go from no knowledge, a vague sense of the word's meaning, etc., on up to rich, decontextualized knowledge connected to other word meanings. So we have all kinds of ranges of word knowledge, and so do our students. All right, and this also is from Isabel Beck. Tier 1 words are basic words that kids come to school knowing. Like, well, we'll go to that in a minute. Tier 2 words are high-frequency words that are found in a variety of situations. And those are the words that are most frequently taught in literacy classrooms. Those are the ones we focus on in literacy classrooms. But Tier 3 words, these are your words, science and social studies people. These are your words, words whose frequency use is quite low, and it's usually specific to a content area. Okay, so Tier 1, your basic words, there's a list of them there that you don't have to teach. Hopefully kids come to school knowing what those words mean. It's not always true. We do have some who are developmentally delayed or deprived environmentally. In other words, their parents don't talk to them and don't know any words. But for the most part, we don't have to instruct on those words. Tier 2 words are, there's an example of those there, and these are the ones we commonly focus on in literacy classrooms because they apply in a lot of different areas, but they're not just your most simple basic words. And here are your words. Isotope. Lathe? Is that leg or lab? Lathe. And I know peninsula. And you teach these often in your science and social studies and music lessons. Do we have any music teachers here today? I don't know where all the music teachers went, but so these are words that you are going to find in your texts. All right, so your instructions include words from informational text. And you know what? They're not always the bold-faced words. You know, we always focus on those bold-faced words. Well, those may not be the very words that you need to select. You need to look beyond the bold-faced words. They may already know some of those bold-faced words, and so you need to look at other words in the text that might add to their experience of whatever the topic or concept is. So, and that last bullet, it's often abstract vocabulary and has no connection to anything they've ever heard of or have ever known. Like borborygmus. I mean, if you throw that word out, they're not going to know what it is. They have no knowledge of that word. Yes, ma'am?
One of my favorites is differ.
D-I-F-F-E-R. Differ.
The science book is full of children. They cannot relate it to difference.
Okay, and that's certainly not going to be a bold-faced word in a text.
But it's an understanding these kids will know it, and it's used on the CRC team, different.
Okay.
Yeah, how do these two things work? That is true, she's very right.
That is a terrific example of a word that you are going to need to teach explicitly and give them experience with. That's what we have to do, is we have to give them experience with the words, just as they get experience with how many times does your fish breathe in a minute. I didn't breathe at all. We didn't think so, but whatever. It didn't look like it was breathing. Okay.
He's not breathing, he's not alive.
Okay, so now here are some of your best practices for teaching your content area vocabulary. Teaching the words in related clusters, using visual displays to make relationships clear, focusing on categories, concrete contexts, and try studying concepts rather than just individual words. And that would apply to your word differ, where you have to talk about all the concepts that go with that and provide opportunities for inference. Now, you want to avoid these. Don't have them look up the words in the dictionary, write the definition, and use that as their one experience with the word. It's just, you know, that's old school, and it really doesn't work. It doesn't matter that it's old school. Some old school things work, that one really doesn't. And don't think that all the words in a text need to be defined. Using context as a reliable tool is a fallacy. There's not always any clue in the text as to what the word means. For example, if you just have a sentence that says, Susan was embarrassed by her morning borborygmus. Okay, whatever. There's no context there. There's no context. So don't rely on context. It doesn't work. And of course, assessments that ask for a single definition, like matching, are probably not always the best choice of assessments. And teaching words in isolation, we don't do that. We know better. We do know better than to do that. Okay. Just in your mind, think about the most useful category to which each of these concepts would belong. How would you teach it? Think about each of those. You can write it down if you want to. No, and each one of those will be a different category. Are you ready?
probably chose for car. Okay. Transportation is a possible category, but then you open up to land transportation, air transportation, water transportation, and if you want your category to be that broad, that is a possibility. But if you're really wanting to talk about cars, then you probably need to talk about vehicles. There's not a right or wrong answer here.
It really depends on your.
Okay, I'm not telling you that your category has to be vehicle. This is what probably most people chose. I think of the vehicle being mainly on the road. By the way, I didn't make this up. I stole it off of the professional learning module online.
I think it would depend on your audience.
Okay, so South America, quite likely you chose continents. What did you choose? What was the next one? Hammer. What did you choose? Two! Woohoo! Okay. And Apple, was that the last one? You said computers, okay. You know, that's a good response. Fruit. I like your response, computers. Apple. Not one correct answer. So here are some strategies that we're going to talk about briefly that you can use in your classroom to teach specific vocabulary words. 3 different ones there that we're going to talk about just briefly. Here's an example of semantics or mapping. I didn't create this either, I stole it. That's just, really a good thing. So honeybee anatomy, which that's what it looks like when you have finished the little mapping process. And here is what you do to get there. You choose a word representing your central concept, which in this case is honeybee anatomy. And you have the kids work in groups to brainstorm words related to that. And in some way, you make a list of the words that they come up with, and then organize them into categories. And of course, in this case, they were organized into head parts, the thorax parts, and the abdomen parts. And so that's one way. And that's what it looked like. This is obviously not a 3rd grade standard.
Are these created somewhere out in cyberspace for you to find? Because we don't have time to do that.
I think you probably do have time to do it if you're teaching, if this is a really important focus of your unit. The honeybee anatomy, which probably it isn't, but it could be. It could, it's going to be something else. It needs to be a big idea. And you could do it.
You could do erosion and weathering and deposition. The kids could branch off examples.
Yes.
And
And I think no, this is not vocabulary. This is concept. This is more of a concept. So,
I love to do this.
Alicia, I think it's a matter of, if it's a big, important concept, you might take the time to do this. And, like you said, the more you do something like this, you become more proficient at it, and so do the students. So it's worth a try.
It seems like it would be worth a try as a summarizing strategy too.
Yes. I'm not suggesting that you create something like this. You could have columns. But this does show relationships, it does. And that's sort of the whole point, is you want to show how things are connected. Take a minute to talk to the people in your group at your table and think of one thing that you might be able to do that little semantic mapping.
with. A word, an idea from science or social studies. Here is another instructional strategy you can use, concept and definition. We're still talking about honeybees. Somebody was really hung up on honeybees. This has less information, actually. What is it? Those are the questions that need to be asked. What is it? What is it like? And what are some examples? There are some variations on this. Here is another example. What is it? South America. What is it like? The things that it's like are listed over on the left. But at the bottom, those are not examples of South America. What would you say those are? Okay, they're countries in South America or parts of South America. So that's a variation on the concept of definition. And this explains it a little more, just in words. Can you think of other ways to define the concept other than saying what are some examples or what are some parts? Pardon me? Okay. What are some counter examples? That's good. What is it not? Sort of like in a prior model where we have what is it not like? Any other ideas on that? Okay, I want y'all to mull this over. All right, the concept of definition focuses on a particular concept, and it shows how it's a member of a larger category. Going back to that, we started with South America, but whoever did this chart made it clear that South America is a continent, Asia is another continent, and then the dotted line means there are also others. Just like South America, there are also other countries that are part of South America. Let's see. Yeah, this chart doesn't show the possibility of others. I mean, you could have insects, insects and other things on that chart. Okay. Again, talk to people at your table and think of an idea that you could use in your class using this strategy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what did you come up with? What kind of ideas could you use doing concept of definition?
Where are you?
Where are you?
You live in a nation,
Wow.
there's a state.
Oh, that is so good. Where are you? You probably need to write that one down. Where are you?
Because they don't get it.
Because our students do not know where they live.
Like that. Tops of government.
Did y'all hear what she's saying? There is a, is it a book? Called Me on the Map, where the kid, you've got a picture of the kid in their bedroom, the bedroom in the house in the neighborhood in the community in the city, etc., etc., etc.
where you can see the roof of your own house. And then zoom out and whoa, yeah. Still know where it is. Any other ideas? Y'all have some ideas over here. Did you? About what you can use this for. Okay, yeah, that's a good one to zoom in on conceptions and misconceptions students might have. What else?
The regions of Georgia.
Okay, that's a really good one because that's a big thing in third grade. That would be using what are its parts instead of what are some examples. Very good.
You could do this like at the end of the unit, like, Europe, within Europe, where we talk about the geography, we talk about history, the economy, people, that kind of stuff, or the term too, but Europe.
And see what they know, sort of as an assessment. Okay. What else? Anything else particular that you're thinking? Mr. Bowen, come on up. I see a thought bubble over your head.
Thinking of what is slavery? Like what is it? Give me some examples. What is it like? Because we know that the Indians were first released the slaves in this hemisphere, and then came African Americans, and then it went indentured servants, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And what is it not?
Wow, y'all are coming up with some really good ideas. I think you can use this. I think you will find that this is a very efficient way of teaching concepts instead of teaching each little vocabulary word. Obviously, this isn't vocabulary exactly. It is concepts more than it is words. Okay, now we have a mathematics example. I also did not create this. And on this one you have, I'm not sure why that first box is blank. I stole this too, obviously. There probably needs to be something in that box. And you would go through and put pluses and minuses in the boxes depending on if a parallelogram is exactly 4 sides, contains a right angle, contains straight line segments, and on down on the chart.
We were thinking you might could draw the shapes and that, two different boxes.
Ah, that would be exactly. Okay. So the shape could be drawn there. That makes a lot of sense. What's a nonagon? Nine sides. Okay. It's a what? Nonagon. I'm familiar with all the others. Okay. All right. So you would choose a category. Focus on the members of the category. Compare and contrast the features. And use pluses and minuses in the boxes to show that the category member shows plus or does not show a certain feature. Now, there are some drawbacks to this. It doesn't show how the category is related to other categories, and it really doesn't give you a whole lot of actual information. But it would be a good introductory tool or a good summarizing tool to see if they understood about those mathematical concepts. So, see if you can think of something in your field that you're teaching that would lend itself to that. Okay, what kind of ideas did you come up with? What will work in this little semantics mapping? What? The 13 colonies. Ooh, that's a good one. What kinds of things would you put across the top?
Growing season longer than so-and-so, let's see,
agriculture, and then heavy industry, diversity.
Okay, good, just plus minus, plus
The
minus.
plan.
Yeah, the planets you
Yeah.
could do as well.
Different countries with their type of government, type of economy.
Okay, y'all came up with some good ideas. Again, I think this is a great summary tool, a great summary tool.
Or Ms. Cipolla, we thought about, you could possibly use it as you teach the unit. Like, we were talking about geography features, and so, let's say you covered this country
Let's
today.
listen to Miss Nash.
Then you would, at the end of your lesson, kind of use it as a review tool. Okay, fill this out, and then you would keep that throughout the unit and have them, and then
And
that
add
would be,
to it
right.
as they learn
And it would be a
stuff.
good tool for them to study with at the end as well.
You
Okay.
also give an on-spot assessment if they're grasping the material that you're covering.
Okay, that's good. So summary, learning as you go through a unit, assessment, summary. What other topics? Did y'all come up with anything back there? I know you did. Simple machines, magnet. Oh, branches of government, that's good. What else? Anything else?
We talked about as librarians, the organization of the library, teaching.
Ooh, good. Go, media specialists. Organization of the library. Okay, these are some good ideas. Okay. This is just a little summary slide of the strategies we've talked about today. And now, you came up with some of these. I was going to ask you to choose a strategy for each of these concepts and show how you would use the strategy. I'm going to ask you just to, at your table, go through each of those. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Types of government, characteristics of body systems, study of figurative language. So it's not just science and social studies and such as that. It's not just nonfiction. Similarities and differences in characters in the Grapes of Wrath. Terms showing the volume and or speed of a musical selection. Talk to each other and try to choose one of the 3 strategies that we talked about that would be best suited to presenting getting students to learn information about that topic. Okay, what kinds of ideas did we come up with? What do you think about, what would you use for types of government?
Concept map.
They said concept map. What would y'all use? Or the chart, the semantic feature analysis? I know, you really can use any of these with any of the instructional strategies. Depending on how much detail you want to go into, whether you want it to be general or specific. Now, if you really want that to be specific, you can make a chart with the information in it, with actual information. That's not as exciting, though, as getting to fill it in, with just sort of general knowledge about things. Or if you had a list of planets there, you could have the distance from the sun and, diameter and all that kind of, those details that, who's going to memorize that? That's just, you can look that chart up and, on Google somewhere.
I think the mapping is easier for younger children than this.
You think this is easier?
No, this is harder for younger children.
This is harder. Okay.
I think you can take something like that, like you think about the quizzes, like I know the types of quizzes I give my kids, matching, fill in the blank. I think you can take something like that, and I could do like the unit that I'm finishing up after Christmas with behaviors. I could list inherited, and learn, and they would have to plus
Check
or
off.
yeah, and that's a quiz grade. And that's a quiz grade. And I think that's a better assessment than some of the other quizzes that I've done with them this year. You know, I think that could be useful in different ways in your classroom.
Well, and it shows their general understanding of the concept without an elaborate explanation for it. But I do want you to think about teaching technical vocabulary after the holiday. Don't think about it anymore right now. And share with other people at your school who did not come to today's session. We have a lot of teachers who teach math, science, and social studies, or reading and social studies, or math and science. And they're not here today because they're either at math training or literacy training. So it would be very nice if you would share with them. And the PowerPoint is, I'm going to post it on the e-file site.